That's right.
Hello and welcome. In this Python project video for beginners, we are going to implement multi-dimensional array to simulate parking garage space indicator. Consider parking garages at the airport. Imagine that there are two or more identical garages buildings, multiple floors on each, with 4 parking spots on each floor. A traveler decides to park his car at airport parking garage. Time is of essence and he might miss his flight trying to find a parking spot. So that the travelers can save some time, our program should simulate displaying how many spots are left in each garage, possibly useful to be placed at the main entry gate of the garage or parking lot. Also, when the driver enters a garage that has at least one empty spot, the program will also display how many spots are left at every floor. This will help the driver easily identify which garage to enter or not to enter, and which floor to go to, so that the driver knows where exactly the empty parking spot is. For this, we need a 3-dimensional array which can collect and process information on the occupied or free spots. Before proceeding, hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more contents like this. With that, let's get started. So first, when I start building my program, I'm going to start with, let's say, 2 identical buildings with 3 floors on each and 4 parking spots on each floor. And then once our program runs with a few test runs, then we can make the changes and update it to 3 garages, 5 floors on each with 40 parking spaces on each, and see how the code behaves with that change. So let's say we have 2 buildings, 3 floors on each building, and 4 spots. So we will be using these variables in making our 3 multidimensional arrays. The array will be named all spots, and for now, let's make it an empty list. And our multidimensional array is nothing but list within list. And we're going to be using nested for loop to create this multidimensional array or populate it within this nested for loop. So for building in range buildings. Current building. We're going to work on the first building first. So current building will be another empty list. Going to do with this is inside this for loop, the first iteration would be the first building, and then current building is what we're going to work with the first building, and then the next iteration we're going to use the same current building variable to work with the second building. Now each building has multiple floors, so for floor in range floors, again same concept, current floor will be another empty list, and each floor has multiple spots. So for spot in range spots, now we don't need empty list like this, because a spot is just a location where the car are parked. So either there's a car or not. So it's a matter of true or false. So true being the spot is empty, and false being the spot is not empty in our case. At this point, we will append to current floor true or false value. So it would be a matter of choice, true or false. And now we would have to import this choice function. So from random import choice. Now at this point, we are appending for each spot in this floor, we are appending whether the parking spot is occupied or not with the true or false value, and that takes care of that floor. And then we have to append that floor into that building. So like I said earlier, each building has multiple floors. So once we take care of that floor, we're adding that floor into our building variable. So current building dot append, and we're appending current floor to that. Now with that, we can get out of this for loop and print current building. For our all spots, we haven't appended anything to there. So this is what we are going to do here. So all spot dot append, and we're going to append current building to that. At the beginning, we are creating an empty 3-dimensional array, and within the for loop, we are populating each spot with true or false value, and then appending those spots into current floor. So current floor append true or false value for each spot. And once the floor is finished with true or false values, that floor is appended to the building, and eventually the whole building is appended to all the spots, the empty variable or empty list we created. And with the for loop, it takes care of all the buildings, and eventually each building will be added to this empty list. At the end of this, we would create a three-dimensional array with these variables. Let's give it a run here and see if there's any error. There is none. And we're with this print current building statement, we're basically printing what is the true and false value for each floor of each building here. So the first building, we have 4 spots, given by the 4 spots equals 4. In the first floor of the first building, we have these values. Second floor of that first building, these are the values, and the third floor of the first building, these are the values. So these are the 4 spots and 3 floors of the first building. Of the second building, similarly, we have the second line here showing all the true and false value. Now, it will be better if we have a print statement that shows which building we are working on. That's easy fix. We just have to add a print statement here saying building number and building 1. We can run that again, and it will nicely show this is the building number 1, this is the building number 2, and the true and false value for each of the floors and each of those buildings. Now, this only takes care of populating the multidimensional array. We have to also write another block of code that counts the true and false value of each floor within each building. That would be another nested for loop, similar to what we did here. So I'm just gonna copy this because I want to see for each building the result. I want to count the space remaining. So building space remaining, I want to reset that to 0 for every iteration, and for floor in range floors, I also need another counter that resets within this nested for loop, similar to the building space remaining, but this new counter will count floor space remaining. So instead of building space remaining, we will say floor space remaining in this case. So this counter is counting in every for loop. This is resetting to 0 and counting total space remaining in that building. Within that building iteration, there is a nested for loop which counts the floors space remaining in each floor of that building. We need another nested for loop because each floor has multiple spots. So for spot in range spots, we are going to see if the value is true or false. So if all spots is our multidimensional array that we populated here. So if all spots, since it is a 3-dimensional array, like we said earlier, we would need 3 index values here. So all spots, these are the 3 index values. First index value is given by the building value here, not the buildings. And the second spot is given by floor. And the third index number is given by this spot. And if that is true, we would increment these 2 values, this and this. So we would increment that by 1, and we would also increment the total building space value by 1. Let's run this code. We are not going to see the output yet. Yeah, we're only going to see building 1 and building 2 because we haven't written a print statement that outputs the actual counter at the end of this nested for loop. So to take care of that, we're going to add a print statement here saying for floor number, spots remaining would be the floor space remaining, that counter from here. Let's run it now, and now we are able to see this where the multidimensional array that we created from the first for loop, and for the counter of the spaces remaining in the first building, each floor has this many spots remaining, and building 2 also each floor has this many spots remaining. Might be helpful just to add a space in between these print statement because this is all getting jumbled up. So let's just say print and see how that works. So that added a line here. So this is our input for loop or nested for loop, and this is our second nested for loop that counts the empty spots. Now we actually don't need this. We are just I'm just showing you this in the console to verify the output here, the counters. So the first floor, first building, first floor has 2 spots remaining, which is given by the two of these two true values here. And the second floor has 3 spots remaining, so which are given by these two true values. And the third doesn't have any empty spots, given by all false. So the output counters are working correctly here. We could actually get rid of this, but I'm just going to keep it for a while now. What actually I think might help is also count a total of all of these and display for the building how many spots are available. So for that, we can go up here, and in the next line outside that loop, within the main for loop, we want to say print total spaces. So something like print space remaining is the building space remaining. So here we are printing total space remaining for each floor, and here outside, once we are out of that nested for loop, that means we're into the building. So we're also printing the total space remaining in this building, and it does that for both or all the buildings. Right now it's only 2 buildings being given by this, so it does give 2 outputs. Let's run this code one last time before we update our variables. So again, we have 2 buildings and true and false value on each spot of each floors of those buildings, and the second nested for loop is giving out this output. For building 1, there are a total of 7 spaces remaining, and that's the distribution in each floor, 4, 2, plus 1. And in building 2 as well, there are a total of 7 spaces remaining, and also 4, 2, and 1. Give one more run, and we get different outputs now. So it's all random, given by this choice function on how we fill out the true and false value for each spot. What I would like to do is update the values of the buildings, floors, and spots. So let's say we have each floor has 40 spots or parking spots, and there are maybe 5 floors on each building with a total of 3 buildings. And let's see how our code behaves. We don't get any errors, but these are the building 1, 2, 3, how we filled out true and false values. That's not what typically I would like to show, but I'm just keeping it here. For building 1, total space remaining is 93, and these are the distribution on each floor. For building 2, total spaces are 101, and these are the distribution for that building 2. Similarly, building 3, there are 106 spaces remaining, and these are the distribution. Now we can just get rid of print building and see only see the count. So this is typically how a traveler, when a traveler arrives at the airport or a parking lot, they will see, well, building 1 has 93 spots, building 2 has 103 spots, and building 3 has 92 spots. It's up to the traveler's choice wherever they want to go, and then once they enter the building, whichever floor they want to go to. So it saves them a lot of time. That would be all for this project video. I hope you learned something from this video. Not a lot, it's just additional exercise for multidimensional array if you are stuck with or having trouble with understanding multidimensional array. If you want to see more videos or more tutorials regarding multidimensional array, please drop a comment and let me know. I'll try to make something new, and hopefully you will understand better. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and so that you don't miss future videos like this. Until next time, thank you.